Welcome back to Planet B Terraform. This amazing new game in early access, 91% positive review on Steam and super cheap, at least in my location, less than 10 euros. We're already on episode 5, so don't hesitate to check in the video description below if you want to see a full playlist where we really started from scratch. I'm teaching you all of the basics, but now we're getting into a lot more advanced things. Since the last episode, a bit of time has passed, but don't worry, I'm gonna explain everything. You're gonna see that we've made some interesting progress, but also made some big mistakes, big failures, and I have a very exciting news at the end. So let's dive in. First of all, as you can see, we have finished level 12, right? It was to increase the temperature by more than 30 degrees. We have way more than that. We're actually now into positive. I don't know if I want to live in this planet yet, but it's definitely into positive. So then we move to the next level where we unlock some new materials like the tempered steel, which requires steel bars and nitrogen. We also unlock the dam elements. I'm going to show you that in a second, and the pumping station. But we also finished this level right away because it was reaching a population of 1000 in your second biggest city. And remember, we had 2 big cities, so that was easy. And then we go to the next level where we unlock pine trees and eucalyptus trees. So 2 types of trees. I'll show you their differences. Then to reach the next level, we'll need 30,000 of population across the planet, right? So you can have 1 city at 30,000, or you could have a couple that get you there. You may remember that in the last episode we started playing with those ice extractors that you need to put at the poles where there's ice, obviously, and they're going to give you nitrogen and water. I had put a couple last time, now we have a lot more. So with that I'm producing now, as you can see, tons of water. But there's actually a better way to produce that water, I'll show you in a second. Now let me explain what is happening over here. Basically each of these corners is 20 ice extractors. There's 10 on this side, 10 on this side, delivering, on the side as always, because it's 2 tile ways for those Mark IIs. Right now I'm focusing only on water, but if you wanted, you could have, 1 water, 1 nitrogen, 1 water, 1 nitrogen, 1 water, and invertly. Then the way I'm transporting it is, in my opinion, a bit smart. It's basically, I have over here a train that's picking up these resources there. And that train is delivering over here, right? So that's a very short train. It goes quickly. With just 1 train, it's transporting 300. And so that means over here, I have the production of all of this plus the production of all of this. Then I do the same where I transport it over here. And so I move all of this production there. Then I do the same and move all of those production there. And then that's the final one. So this production is then going into what I call a bit my depot. This is my warehouse where I have everything coming. So this is, the delivery from this side. Then we do the same on this line, right? It starts over here, then goes there, 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 etc. And then the last one is this one that delivers over here. And then we do the same on this third line, and that's the third over here. And then on the other side, this is the departure, right? So we have the train that are departing, and going to deliver where? Going to deliver to my food production. Started the food production over here. As you can see, these greenhouses that we built in the last episode with steel bars and polymer bars, we can produce some food. This is 2 food for each cycle, so 30 per annum times 2, 60, right? We have 10, so that's 600 per annum with 10 of these like this, but it requires 4 water per cycle. So that's a lot of water, and that's why I'm delivering, over here, a lot of water. It does also require compost, right? And compost, I told you in the last episode, you can start making it by recycling your organic waste. Adding a bit of nitrogen, which is why we of course also need nitrogen over here, but not that much to be honest. And that will make you your compost, right? So the compost over here. And then the compost is sent via a train over here, delivered there, and then we have another train taking all of this food and sending it to the city. Now the problem, as you can see, is this doesn't seem full because we seem to be missing compost. And the reason is that the compost that you're producing from your recycled waste, your organic waste, is never going to be enough. I can guarantee you it's never going to be enough. So you're going to need a second way to produce more compost. Luckily, we do have a second way. If you go into your factory, build any factory, you will see that you have now unlocked a new recipe, the compost. This is carbon plus nitrogen, so it's not gonna be that hard. We're gonna do something similar like this. Then instead of having over here, the nitrogen and the organic waste, we're also going to have nitrogen like this, but then the other one is going to be the carbon. And remember, the carbon is actually not that hard to make. It does take usually quite a bit of space, but it's not that hard. I'm going to make some over here quickly while I show you with those atmospheric extractors, right? So this will just jump over here. Now the only thing that's not jumping is this nitrogen. So maybe what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the nitrogen over there, and we're gonna put this one there, and then I'm going to quickly change that. Perfect. Done. So then this way, this one can just jump over here directly. Then this is produce, this jumps, and then with that we're gonna start making some compost like this, which will then just jump this side too. The reason you have to be careful though is we need to make sure that we use all of our organic waste, right? If the organic waste starts being stored in our city, not being recycled, then our population is not gonna be happy, it's not gonna grow. So this needs to be the priority. There's not really a priority system per se in the game, but this should work well, because what I'm doing is I'm delivering the nitrogen here first, right? So whatever small amount of nitrogen I have will be used over here first, and then it's only if I have a lot, then some of it will start being delivered on this side. And similarly, my train is picking up the compost from here. So this is the first compost that's going to be taken. But then if this is empty, then this compost from here is going to start jumping here and help in a sense, right? So doing something like this is sort of a priority in my opinion. It works pretty well. And with that, we should be making more and more compost. I mean, you can copy this whole thing over here. This is also not really at, equilibrium, right? Because we're gonna need 2 carbons. This is only producing 12 per annum, so that's definitely not enough. Basically what we need to do is start making more and then having some trains to deliver, or do something like this, right? If I do something like this, this will jump over there and then jump this side. We'll need to definitely increase it if you want a perfect production. But with that, we start to make some food, right? This is great. We're starting to make some food into our population. Of course, we're gonna need to deliver it over here. This is what you can see there. And with that, my city has started to grow. We're already at 17,000. I think last time when we finished, we were probably at 10,000 or something like this. So this has been growing. It requires more reinforced concrete. I think we are very low already. In the last episode, we're already quite low on over here, and you can see there's other problems. So let's start talking about some of those problems, but also some of the solutions, right? So the solution is the dime element. It just requires actually reinforced concrete, what we just talked about over here, making reinforced concrete from our concrete and our steel bar. This is what's needed to make some dam, and this is those things over here. They're going to somewhat protect a bit your city from water. I say somewhat because I don't think it's that easy / perfect. As you can see, I have, for example, water a bit over here, and it's if I were to copy this one and do like this, it's not like the water just disappears. So we're gonna talk about this in a second, but before we do, I did mention that there was a better way to do water production, because if you remember those ice extractors, this is only 5 per cycle. It's only 5 water. This is why I had to build so many to just produce enough for those 10 greenhouses. But there is another way to do it. This is this pumping station. It requires 2 reinforced concrete and 1 high-tech part. It's not the easiest thing to do because remember, reinforced concrete is sulfur plus iron, and high-tech part is carbon plus aluminium. So you need sort of 4 resources to make this pumping station. But when you do make a pumping station, you will actually produce 30 of water per annum. So that is basically the equivalent of 6 of these, right? So that's really good. A pumping station will help a lot. Now you cannot put pumping station anywhere that you want. This is where the water really comes into play. The real water, not the water from the ice. And this is actually quite a recent change. When I started this playthrough, this wasn't in the version of the game, but it is now in the version of the game. If you click on water view over here, you will see a lot more details. You will see all of these arrows. Some of them will be white, some of them blue, some of them very big blue. This is basically the water flow, where the water is going to probably flow in the future. So to explain, it means that all of the condensation, all of the humidity will follow these lines like this, right? All of these lines. And then when it gets blue, it means, there's a chance of this becoming a river. Then here, this is definitely going to be a river. And this is what you can see over here, for example. Now there's a lot of water. I started to block this water, so now the water is sort of staying there instead of flowing this side. But then because there was so much water coming and there's still some water there, then you can see, here there's a river. This is a small river, and this river will probably at some point also get into an ocean. Where is my ocean? Yeah, here, or lake at least, lake or ocean, you call it whatever you want. So you see in blue, this is actual water, and then the green is where on this planet over here, there is water in the ground. So, sort of humidity or water in the ground. So it's not out of the ground. For example, if you look over here, you don't see any water, right? But there is water on the ground, which means that in the future, if the temperatures continues to increase, we may get some water, some rivers, but this is also the only places where you'll be able to put your pumps. So all of these places that are green, you can put pumps. You cannot put pumps completely underwater, they're not going to work. And by the way, this is actually also something that happened recently. At the beginning, when they first launched the game, if you had built something and then it was submerged into water, it would continue to work, but you couldn't build new things into water. Now you cannot build anything, and if you had built something in the past, for example, here, this is underwater, this has stopped to work. This won't work anymore at all. So this is sort of lost. We can delete it now. But yes, this is a way to make a lot more water, is just find a way that has, this green like this, and just put a lot of those pumps, and then of course a depot, and you'll get water. Now indeed, it gets us into some of the problems we're having. As you can see, we have water coming into our main city. There's a river right in the middle of the city. We also have some of our productions that are underwater, like this one over here is getting underwater. The one I just showed you over here, completely underwater. So that's definitely a problem. Even in London, we have no water yet over here, but you can see we have two of those big rivers that are probably going to start quite soon. Now, why is that? It's because the temperature is starting to increase, right? When you get around minus 30, minus 20 degrees Celsius as sort of the overall planet's average temperature, because remember, this is an average temperature. So this means it may be minus 20 or 30 probably at your pole, right? Where's my pole over here? But that means over here, it's probably already maybe 0, for example, right? So that's why, you start getting some water at this point. You start getting first just a bit of green, and then you start getting more and more blue and more green. So it starts expanding and expanding. And the more, you increase the temperature, the more you're gonna get all of these blue and green. And you see some problems like having too much water inside your city. Now, this is not game over, right? Like, my city is still alive. This is also still working. Obviously, these houses have been abandoned, so they are not working, these ones. But there are other ones that are working. It is, though, a bit challenging, especially if you see over here, there's really water all around Prune. So it's gonna be a tough one to do. Similarly, as I said, New London, right, we're gonna have probably a river just right on it. And New Bangkok is even worse because it's right next to my big ocean, two rivers on each side, and there's no bridge for now. And then on the other side, we have the mountain over here, so we're stuck. And again, it's not impossible. I could do things, but it was really not that easy. And so I'm really glad that they actually added this water view with those details, because now when you start a planet, you will see all of this. Let me actually show you that very quickly. We can create a new planet, play new planet. So here it is, this is a completely new planet. You cannot see, the green and the blue because right now there's no actual water, but you can see where it's probably going to be, right? So there's, for example, over here next to New Cairo, there's already quite a bit, so that could be dangerous. Or you can see that over here, this may be a river in the future, so maybe you want to have a lot of extractors at the beginning of the game on this one, so that you take those resources before they're lost. For example, for New Land over here, and then I see two rivers this side, but then I don't see any on the other side. So I'm like, okay, maybe we can have a big factory, or we can develop the town on this side and make sure it doesn't develop too much on that side. And so actually based on this, I decided to create a new map. We're playing now on a new planet, slightly different ones, We have new names for city. We have New Chennai, New Osaka, and New Ahmedabad. And then don't worry, we're not gonna restart from scratch. I basically spent, around 2 hours to get us to the same point. We're back to the same point. We're also at 0 degree. We have a similar population and all of this. But now we are a lot better in terms of water, There is of course water on the map, and no map is gonna be perfect, or not having water will also be a problem. But you can see that this city, New Chennai, for example, I don't have any problem over here. There's not gonna be any water, so the water problem is just over here. Then similarly for New Ahmedabad, there is a bit of problem over here, but no problem over there. And lastly, New Osaka is the same, you have an ocean there, but we have a big space in the middle there. So with this, we'll be ready to get to really the next stage where we need to plant a lot of trees, we need to terraform the planet, we need to make sure we produce enough food, enough all of the resources to reach 30,000, then 100,000, then 1 million. But there's also still a couple of other resources that we haven't looked at. So stay tuned for the next episode. I hope you liked this one. Don't hesitate to smash the like button if you did. Share any thoughts, comments below, and I hope to see you next time.